So the Celtics aren't changing anything after a first-round playoff knockout. Nothing? Really? Well, we'll see about that. Welcome to the KevinMc Sports Hour here on News Talk 99.7 FM and AM 630, WPRO, and on 790 The Score. That's Brian Windhorst from ESPN. And first of all, as you heard last week, and we covered this last week, I'm not in favor of firing Joe Mazzulla. Sounds like the local and national media have kind of moved on from there a little bit. By all accounts, he just may be named the coach of the year in the NBA this week. Would have gotten my vote. But I am all in favor of seeing what Brad Stevens can do to this roster. I mean, they did lose in the first round, and I know Jason Tatum didn't play in Game 7, yeah, blah, blah, blah. They lost Game 5 and 6 with Jason Tatum. To a team that just got absolutely annihilated by the New York Knickerbockers. That's the same team that knocked you out last year. Before Jason Tatum, of course, tore his Achilles at the Garden, the New York Garden. Anyways, that does include trading one of the Jays in my mind. And that would be Jaylen Brown if I had to pick one of them. I would explore that. Because the good news is when you trade someone like a Jaylen Brown, you're going to get, quote, a package in return. Like some real players. Some draft capital. In this case, I don't want draft picks for Jaylen Brown. You will get an NBA All-Star in return. That would be my asking price anyways. Maybe someone like Giannis Antetokounmpo. We'll get to him in just a bit. Now, do I think that will happen? No. I agree with Windy. I think Brad will sit tight for this offseason anyways with the Jays. But what about Derek White? I'm not going to the wall for Derek White. He's due $30 million next year. That's number one. Not that the money matters in this sport. But I am shopping D. White big time. Now, I'm unsure what he can bring. Can he bring the big man or scoring around the rim that Brad Stevens spoke about last week? I don't think he can. But I'm shopping D. White. Part of a larger package, key part of a larger package for the Celtics. He's the third highest earning player after the two Jays on the team. Now, I've seen enough of Sam Hauser. He's a regular season one-trick pony, three-point bomber. He's not going to bring back a whole lot either, but I'm putting him in a package. But I'm doing something with this group because the more I watch the Knicks, this team needs help. They need help inside with Neemias Queta, and they need some guards who can create their own shots and not just line up for catch-and-shoot threes. Tough spot for Brad Stevens, but we shall see. And, there's an awful lot of talk about, will the Celtics change their approach or their offensive approach? Well, no, especially if Brown and Tatum are back together. Those two guys have had success playing the up-tempo, three-point dominant offense. And I think that three-point dominant offense is more the case because of D. White and Hauser and Baylor Shireman, the other wing players who that's what they are. Now, if the Celtics change those guys, well, then, yeah, I hope Joe Mazzulla does change his offense a little bit. And a big guy? I don't know. Big guy. Get a big guy with Derek White as your number one trade bait. Don't like your chances there. 401-438-WPRO. Celtics fans, basketball fans, 438-9776. Let's get started with tonight's three big hits. All right, the NBA tonight, the Knicks await the winner of the Pistons-Cavaliers series after sweeping away the Sixers in Philly yesterday. The Cavs host Game 4 tonight with the Pistons. They lead that series 2-1. That could last a while. The Thunder can sweep the Lakers tonight in L.A. Like their chances there. The NHL, the Avalanche are in Minnesota to face the Wild. They lead that series 2-1. Carolina Hurricane, They're the only team to advance into the conference finals thus far. Sox are off tonight. They'll start a series with the Phillies at Fenway tomorrow night. The Yankees are in Baltimore to face the Orioles tonight. And college basketball, URI coach Archie Miller announced the signing of 3 transfers and a incoming freshman. The transfers, Towson guard Dylan Williamson, Tennessee Martin forward Maudis Denusis, and UC Santa Barbara wing Jason Fontanet. The Friars, they've added an 11th player to the mix. 6'9" UNLV transfer Jacob Banarby, is coming to Providence. He started 15 games at Vegas last year, averaged 6 points and 5 rebounds, shot 52% from the field. More on the Friars and Brian Hodson later on in the show. Banarby, by the way, Rooch, he's from Alaska.
Ooh.
Originally. Really grew up in California, but that would be a first for the Friars, an Alaskan.
Well, yeah, one thing I've learned following college basketball, and I first learned this, I do believe, with like the like of Dookie's Trajan Langdon and Carlos Boozer, is all those Alaskans, they got to go to California because there are no AAU teams in Alaska.
That's right.
So if you want to hit the circuit, you got to head stateside.
And hey, on the basketball note, by the way, before we get back to the Celtics, huge shout out to my friend and classmate, Mike Tirico. Mike Tirico spoke at our alma mater yesterday morning at commencement up in Syracuse. He got on a little private plane, made it to Minnesota, did the NBA game last night with Wemby getting tossed against Minnesota. So Mike deserved accolades and the Hustle Award all in one day. Good for Mike.
Look at that. Yeah. That's quite the afternoon for Mr. Tirico.
And it's official. Both Rooch and I turned down the invitation, so Mike was happy to be a third choice.
There you go.
By all accounts, he did an outstanding job, so good for Mike. Rooch, when the Celtics get knocked out in the first round, and they're still being talked about nationally, forget about locally, of course, we're going to talk about the Celtics and the local teams. What does that say? Is it, wow, did the Celtics really lose to the Sixers? That's A, or, wow, the Celtics, they may be one of the busier teams in the offseason, because I'm not really buying into that front. But I think when the Knicks sweep out the Sixers, you're like, really, the Sixers? That's the team that beat Boston? Is Boston in a tough spot? Right?
I don't know. I think most of the discussion of the Celtics right now has to do with the fact that they're one of the few teams that could swing a trade for Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
So people are then looking at their roster in that vein, in that light. They're like, well, Boston, maybe they could use a shakeup. They just got blown out by the 76ers, to end that series. So, they could move. Maybe they don't like Jaylen Brown. I hear, he's been talking to Tracy McGrady on a podcast. So, I mean, you look at the Celtics roster, everybody knows it's imperfect, but everyone also knows that, they don't have the wiggle room necessarily to make the big changes that some people would like to see them make in order to, cover up the warts that they have. You mentioned Derek White, and I think in a perfect world, that would be a great chip, but after the run he had to end the season and in the postseason.
Really struggled shooting the ball.
Right, you're getting pennies to the dollar on Derek White. And if you're Brad Stevens, especially with a player like White, you don't need to trade him. He might not be worth the $30 million, but he kind of is when the top players are making $70 sooner rather than later. So, I mean, I'm not in a hurry to move Derek White right now because his value isn't really all that high. But I do expect Brad Stevens to get creative in order to fill the voids down low, the physicality, the big guys. I don't know how he's going to go about doing that. I have a tough time believing that either White, Tatum, or Brown will be part of those moves, though. I think that's what you do if you're just antsy, because you go to battle with those guys more often than not. I'd need a larger sample size than what happened to end this season in order to decide I'm ready to move on from the three of them.
Yeah, and I think Brad and the basketball ops people need to say, well, is that just tinkering? Yes, we're good. We can, get rid of Garza and Hauser and who knows, Neemias Queta and whatnot. Look for upgrades. But is that just tinkering? Or is it our top 3 players? That's, and that's what they have to ask themselves. And if they really want to change the way they play, you heard Brad Stevens last week, Rooch. It doesn't sound like he's going to change the way they play.
He's not, which is why I think it's really sort of as simple as if you're Brad Stevens, a little bit of it might be fine. You like Joe Mazzulla, okay? You continue with him. Then you might have to save him from himself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe take some of the versatile guys like a Garza or a Hauser away for one-dimensional physical players who could actually, play basketball outside of the three-point shot.
Mm-hmm.
Again, given their salary construction, that makes the most sense to me instead of, some sort of radical move. Just, okay, the fringe guys are going to have a different identity, and it'll be one that our stars can easily, adapt to. If anything,
yeah.
Right, we're going to be asking the lesser guys to bring that out of our top guys.
All right, ESPN's Shams Charania, he has an update on what he thinks might happen with Giannis.
Sources tell me the Milwaukee Bucks are fully open for business on trades and offers around Giannis Antetokounmpo as we enter the NBA Draft Combine this week. And we're 6 weeks away from the NBA Draft itself. There will be a conclusion to this that will either result in him signing a long-term extension or a trade. The question is going to be, where does Giannis want to go? Where does he want to play for and commit long-term? Because he's got just one guaranteed year left on his deal. That gives a player of this caliber a ton of leverage, a ton of sway on where he ends up.
All right, the accompanying story to Shams' remarks there is basically says, is expected to be a robust market for Antetokounmpo's services. I'm not convinced of that. Are you?
No, the price is high, and I think, just the types of players we saw in Milwaukee, did to win with Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said it about Giannis and I've said it about Embiid. I'm not saying you can't win with those guys, just you have to have such a specifically engineered roster. And so you either need to already have a lot of those guys to complement him in place or be willing to move mountains to make that happen in one, maybe 2 off seasons. That's if you like the guy, right? So I don't think there are as many suitors as one would expect for one of the quote-unquote best players in the NBA, or at the very least, one of its highest paid.
I'm with you. He's a very polarizing player. Can't imagine he'd ever play second fiddle to anyone. I mean, that's just not his game. And yet, again, the Bucks will be looking for a young blue-chip talent and a surplus of draft picks. Good luck. Good luck to the Bucks. How about Wemby getting ejected? Watching that game last night, and sure enough, he did throw a nasty elbow that caught Minnesota's Naz Reid. As soon as I saw it, I said, ooh, that was above a flagrant 1. Will the refs have the guts to call a flagrant 2 and eject him? They did. The word is there'll be no subsequent or additional penalty outside of the ejection. Sure enough, the Bucks lose. The Spurs lose. So, costly elbow by Wemby, but learn and move on, right?
Yeah, well, that's twice now. He's gotten hurt, he got the concussion, and they lost, and he gets ejected, and they lost. We keep being told, and I'm not, a complete believer in this, but as Wemby goes the Spurs, which is why, before this postseason, I was very, uncertain as to how far this team could go. Minnesota able to even that series at 2. Do you think they call that flagrant 2, K-Mac, if that game were in San Antonio?
Yeah, that would have been a tough one. That would have been a tough
Pretty
call
easy to do when you know the home crowd's going to be on your side.
That's right. When we come back, we're going to go to, we're going to stick with some hoops. And the Friars, Brian Hodgson was, he's making a little bit of news. We'll get to him next on the Kevin Mack Sports Hour. Welcome back to the Kevin Mack Sports Hour here on WPRO 790 The Score. That's our friend Jeff Goodman, the field of 68, and PC coach Brian Hodgson. I had to chuckle when I heard that response, Rooch. The coach is new to Rhode Island. He was not in the building for the last 3 visits by the former coach of the Friars, and going to treat him with elite respect. Well, that would be a significant improvement by the Friar fans. I don't like the chances of that happening. I wouldn't say ever. I would hope, I would have hoped that the, tough feelings would have died down over 3 years. This year wasn't pretty either. I'll be curious if Brian Hodgson can, temper things a little bit. He doesn't seem to be that kind of a guy, but we don't know him well yet either.
No, he doesn't, but at the same time, I think he does in this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how about, I was just about to say, it might work once, and he might be able to more or less end it, the wildness of the Cooley returns. You might be able to end it once if it's like, look, let's whoop him. Mm-hmm. And then then he'll be gone from this part of, we'll always have history. But why don't we just end this once and for all right now, business trip style?
Sure.
And just absolutely throttle this team, beat him by 100 in the building he helped build, essentially, things of that nature. So I can see him sort of rallying around the, hey, that was the past. We need to do this in order to move forward.
Sure.
So I can see him sort of galvanizing in that way, but I'm with you. The betting man in me says, despite his best intentions, I think the fans might feed off of his energy, might feed off of their hatred for Cooley, and who knows what that cocktail could produce.
Yeah, and think about it. Last year, it was a double dose, right? The returning Cooley for the third year, and the returning Bryce Hopkins. And we know what happened in the Bryce Hopkins game. That bubbled over big time. That stole all the headlines. He's gone. There's not a situation like that again, and I'm not saying that a segment of the Friar fans kind of get off on that, us against that guy routine, but they do, or they have for the last 3 years anyways. But, it'll be interesting. I would hope that they can turn the page a little bit more than that, and you're correct, by not losing to the Hoyas like last year. That would help an awful lot.
The mentality of, look, outside of literally – we're not in the same league as these guys, or they're not in the same league as us. We're not going to punch down. We're going big game hunting, and this is just a speed bump along the way. Don't get too invested or too emotional over this, because this isn't anything compared to what we really want to achieve.
Yeah, and who knows where the teams are, right? Last year they looked a lot like each other, and that wasn't pretty for either program. By the way, also further in that conversation, and feel free to check it out. He went on. Brian Hodgson went on to say that Ed Cooley was everything was complimentary about Providence. He thinks he's going to do a great job at Providence. Blah blah blah. So no negatives there. But he also had some things to say about Dink Pate. And
oh boy,
Rooch, I thought it was interesting because he actually said this on our show when he was hired, that he spoke to some G League coaches, some NBA front offices who were aware of Dink Pate, and they think he's a totally legitimate NBA prospect, will be very good in college. And think about that. So here's my question. Isn't the film and what you've seen from Dink Pate as a Providence coaching staff in the G League a better comp than what someone did at UNLV or in the American Conference? Which is, that's college basketball. The other is minor league pros. Which is a better comp?
I'd want the NCAA experience because of that, right? Like, the G League is still AAU basketball, which is largely what the NBA has become outside of the playoffs, more or less, regular season NBA basketball. So
they would disagree with that, but I respect your opinion.
Which part do you disagree with?
That it's AAU-style basketball.
Well, I mean, they shoot 53s a game, and there's very little defense.
And the rosters change a lot.
What
as well
in the NBA?
In the G League.
Oh yeah, no,
kind
I'm
of
just
like,
saying.
like AAU.
Yeah, they don't. The college style is the teams have offenses that they run. Players are held responsible on the defensive end, and you can think of what you want in terms of if that makes it more or less exciting, more legitimate, less legitimate. So I'd want to see someone like Dink Pate. Ideally, I'd rather see high-end Division I film on him than G League film because, yeah, again, nobody in the G League is playing any defense. So I'd like to see him play against somebody who could play in some defense, even if that is lesser competition.
All right. Again, some people might disagree with you on that, with the G League. I can't say that I'm an avid G League watcher, thank God.
I was going to say, name 3 G League teams.
That's right.
You can't. So
the Maine Red Claws, is it the Red Claws? Yeah.
You have to tell me.
Yeah. And the Westchester Knicks, because Dink Pate played for them. Exactly. All right.
Well, I'm saying, how about this then, right?
And I agree with your point. In college, there's way more structure.
Well, I was just going to say, like, if there is really this difference between the G League and Division I, high-end Division I college basketball, and I'm not trying to troll or anything, Dink Pate should be good for 20 a game next year, no problem.
Well, I saw a posting today. Again, people who follow college basketball have nothing else to do this time of year, so the projected first team All Big East, next year, and it's like, Braylon Mullins and Silas Demery from UConn and Dink Pate.
I was going to say, he's sort of like,
he kind of has to be. If you buy into the G League is better than college basketball thing, well, he averaged 15 in the G League. So
what would that say about the G League? This guy just scored 40 in the G League 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
we project him as a third team all conference.
Right.
And again, that's why when they signed him and the talk about him, and again, I'm not trying to set the ceiling too high. I'm not super familiar with him outside of what most people know anyway. But this should be someone who's looked at as like a fringe All-American candidate based on the stuff we've heard. But like you pointed out, it remains to see if the game will translate. Certainly as intriguing a transfer portal pickup as anyone got in the Big East, one of the more intriguing in the nation, for sure.
No question about it. No question.
And that's why we love Brian Hodgson, right?
Yes.
We'll see if this works, but at the very least, it's interesting.
It's interesting. And what a name. I mean, what
That's
a
right.
name.
The
Dink
total
Pate.
package.
Absolutely. And by the way, great on social media. You should follow Dink Pate.
So was Duncan Powell, by the way.
Oh, no. Duncan Powell was a first-team All-American on social media.
He sure
and
was.
he couldn't play dead, for the Friars anyways.
Nah, it didn't work out.
All right, the Red Sox next on the Kevin Mack Sports Hour. Welcome back to the Kevin Mack Sports Hour here on WPRO and 790 The Score. Yeah, another long afternoon at Fenway Park yesterday. It's a good thing that Saturday was rained out because Sox probably would have lost. And by the way, the Sox got deserved criticism, like heavy criticism by an awful lot of media people, including our friend Bill Koch at the Journal and Rob Bradford, who's covered the Red Sox forever. I mean, everyone knew it was going to rain on Saturday afternoon and get heavier at night. Instead of moving the game back to 1 o'clock, they kept it at 4 and literally banged the game at 4:20. The fans are there. They're buying the ridiculously priced food and the shirts and everything else. It's ridiculous. It happens once or twice a year, Rooch, and you're just like, I know it's a business, and I know it's a business. It's disgusting, and people don't want to deal with that. And by the way, the game's rescheduled, not for the next day, but, 3 weeks or a month down the line.
Right.
It's a complete abuse of the fans.
It is. Yeah. And fans should not put up with it.
Mm.
And I try not to put up with it.
They bought their tickets.
That's right.
And, hey.
That's right. Don't buy the tickets. Just
pay
watch at
for
home.
Pay for
Nesson.
the parking. It's crazy. Anyway.
Yeah, you're getting robbed one way or the other.
Yeah, that's
we're all suckers in this game.
All right, the Red Sox have played 40 games. They're 9.5 behind Tampa already. After 4, that's hard to do. First of all, Tampa's playing great. Alex Cora's gone. They're 8.5 behind the Yankees if you're keeping score at home there. And the question is, okay, they've already made one major move. Obviously, they blew up Alex Cora, and every offensive coach. You can only do so much with your roster. But after 40 games, I think it's totally legitimate right now to say, what do you do with Trevor Story?
I've got some ideas.
Yet another error yesterday led to 2 runs scoring, gave Tampa control of that game. He was 1 for 4, which, congratulations, he had a hit. But, Rooch, he struck out 3 times. He struck out 8 times in 12 at-bats.
Oof.
In the series.
That's 75% for those that are actually keeping score at home.
That's 75%. And that one hit he had yesterday raised his batting average to 200. So at least he's not below the Mendoza line. So Peter Abraham from the Globe basically wrote a story on what to do with Trevor Story. Outright release is an option.
I was going to say, did the words garbage barge appear anywhere in this story?
I mean, or how about move him, okay? Who and what is Marcello Meyer at this stage? We know he's a prospect. We know he's, I don't know, is he a second baseman? Is he a third baseman? He came up as a shortstop. Peter said, hey, why not Marcello Meyer as your everyday shortstop for a while? You can play Story at second base a little bit, or not. And then at least you have an answer as to, can Marcello Meyer play shortstop? Because Story can't hit, and his fielding isn't good either.
Yeah, it's one of these where, you could tie this directly to the firing of Alex Cora if you want to show, and I often do, that there is no real plan here. Because you got to get a sample size, to your point, out of Marcello, and when better to do it than right now, right? This is the time to do it, and you don't need to know what you have in Trevor Story. You have a defective ball player whom you can't trade for pennies on the dollar, even if you wanted to, and I don't know that they necessarily want to. Again, part of what this team does, part of what John Henry has more or less instructed them to do, or they do just to please him, is to appear to be competing while not actually, going after it in full earnestness. And if you put out Marcello and say to the fans, even if not directly, even if just by your actions, that, hey, you know what? Not our year. We're going to build for the future. This is how we're going to do it, by figuring out if we got anything with this guy. They don't want to do that because the optics aren't good. The optics they want a veteran in there who's going to help them compete for a wild card spot, damn it, because there's only 14 wild card spots to be had, K-Mac, and they need Trevor Story if they're going to hunt down one of them.
Well, time to make a change if they're going to be in the mix for the wild card. And also, actually, this conversation probably is happening in Boston because all they care about are their prospects. Because as someone told me years and years ago about baseball guys, if you have a bad team, what you want to do is, quote, showcase your prospects because, don't worry. I know we've made numerous mistakes with our veterans like Trevor Story, but, boy, we have great young talent, and we're going to get it some time. Well, let's get Marcello Meyer some time. The next wave of prospects is Franklin Arias. Franklin Arias, by all accounts, he was Marcello Meyer 3 years ago, right? Quote, can't-miss prospect. He's a shortstop. Well, who's going to be the shortstop after Trevor Story? Is it Meyer? Is it Arias? It's clear that Boston would like it not to be Meyer. They'd like to play him at second base, maybe third base. Well, Caleb Durbin stinks, okay? He's not good either. He's the third baseman. So that left side of your infield, it's just screaming for some more reps from Marcello Meyer. And believe me, I'm not sold on that guy at all, but I want to see him play.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, right? Like, if Alex Cora were the problem, then, and I brought this up at the time, Moneyball, if you've seen the movie, like Billy Beane, he trades everybody away, so the manager has no choice but to play the guys he wants to play.
Right.
That didn't really happen that way, but just for the sake of this argument, if Breslow and John Henry at all, if they really believed that Alex Cora was bungling the game plan, then the second he was out the door, you would have seen radical changes, to the lineup. You make this move because you're like, you know what, this guy, he's got us in neutral. We need to put our foot on the gas, whether it's for a championship or whether it's for a rebuild. Obviously, this team's not competing for a championship, but there was no foot on the gas for the rebuild with moves like putting Marcello out there, in a day-to-day role and figuring out what you have with all your young prospects sooner rather than later. Because, again, they're not trying to rebuild, right? They're trying to make excuses for the short term and give them enough time to come up with some excuses for the long term. And that's basically it. And in the meantime, they cash all the checks and count all the money.
Yeah, and the losses pile up,
That's
which,
right.
By the way, was probably going to happen whether you played Trevor Story or not. Okay, when the Red Sox got rid of Cora, they also dismissed Jason Varitek. But in their release, they went out of their way to say, we love Jason Varitek. He's going to be reassigned. What was it, 2 weeks now? He hasn't been reassigned yet. It's Pedro Martinez on Varitek and Alex Cora.
I'm not going to go into details without knowing why. There's got to be a reason, because Tech means so much to this city. I'm not going to go into details because I don't know. If I knew, I'll tell you straight up, too. I'll tell you why. But I don't know.
So you talked to Cora after what happened?
I have. I haven't talked to Tech yet, but they all know. They all know. They will soon be in baseball. That I can tell you.
Okay, so Pedro hasn't talked to Cora, but he'll be in baseball. Oh, he hasn't talked to Tech.
Yeah, he's talked to Cora, not Tech.
Yeah, not Tech.
Yeah.
Well, he's not going to be soon. I think pretty clear that Alex Cora will not be in baseball the rest of this season. Happily, his choice. As far as Varitek, what do you think is up with that? Maybe they wanted to reassign him, to minor league roving catching instructor. I mean, clearly he's not going to be a part of the Boston coaching staff because he could have have been reassigned to the Boston coaching staff.
That's right. Well, if there's one thing we know about this regime, KevinMc, is that they handle things poorly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure they botched this with Jason Varitek and, probably leave him feeling right now as someone who's been slighted by an organization that he's done a lot for. And, yes, they've paid him millions of dollars, et cetera, but
sure.
He probably feels like he's been done a bit dirty and wants no part of the Red Sox right now, and I can't say I blame him.
No, either they want him to be a part of their plans going forward or they don't.
Right.
And pretty clearly they don't.
Right.
You would have had that discussion. Hey, Tech, we're blowing out Cora. We want you to stay in the job that you have. He could help Chad Tracy, right?
Right.
And Varitek probably flipped them the bird and said, I have no interest in that. And then they say, oh, okay, well, we'll find you a job.
Right.
Yeah, okay, yeah, good luck.
No, you bring that up too. Like, no one's ever been found that job.
Right. What job is that?
Right. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers is still trying to find one for Bruce Arians, remember? Oh, yeah, look, I bet Gerard Mayo's probably got one right now down at Patriot Place that he doesn't even know about. Whenever they tell you they'll find you a position, the thing they're looking for is a way to cut your payroll without being sued.
And not pay you whatever you're
That's right.
owed. A lot of money, by the way. I did hear that at the time of that transaction. Quite a few of those coaches, probably led by Varitek, were owed a lot of money. But, hey, it's only cash, right? John
That's
Henry's
right.
got plenty of that.
Yeah, he's
we
got
know
plenty
that.
of it. Yeah.
When we come back, yeah, exactly. I agree, Alex. When we get back, tonight's KevinMc Sports Pick of the Night. What did you expect? Welcome back to the KevinMc Sports Hour here on WPRO 790 The Score. Yeah, I especially like that young lady. What do you love about Joel? He beat the Celtics. Not yesterday. That was a massacre. I mean, first of all, you could say that the Sixers played really poorly, and they did, especially defensively. I mean, the New York Knicks shot 57% from the three. Nearly, these stats are like, don't tell anyone. They're Celtic-like. They shot 44 threes, almost 50% of their shots. That's a magic number. They made 25 of them. They shot 57% from the three. If they shoot 40% from the three, they may beat, I shouldn't say this, but can they beat Oklahoma? If they shoot 40% from the three, Rooch, they're going to push Oklahoma if they can do that. I don't think they will.
I mean, that's ignoring the other side of the ball conveniently.
Well, they could lose 144 to 140.
I'm saying, and they would. Those, Oklahoma City can score.
They can.
They are not just some one-trick pony on the defensive side of the ball. But no, the New York Knicks have been very impressive offensively. Although, to what you were talking about earlier, this is more about Philadelphia being out of gas and not good.
Yes.
So if you're looking, if you're a team in the East, if you're the Boston Celtics specifically, the New York Knicks could run to the title this year. I'm not looking at their roster and saying I need to be like them or I need to beat them. Again, that sort of transformation from the Celtics, okay, then rip things down right now and get back in the lottery if that's what you're trying to do.
I agree. It
Because
shouldn't
you can't
take
make that.
much to be able to be
Right.
with the Knicks.
Right.
Maybe not substantially better, but with the Knicks.
Well, first of all, in my opinion, they are better than the Knicks right now with a healthy roster. But this is the mistake, and Brad Stevens won't make this mistake, but this is the mistake that most general managers make across all sports. They take it literally. Let's say, again, we'll project with the Knicks. We need a Karl Anthony Towns. We need a Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
That is not how it works, and I don't expect Brad Stevens to operate that way, whether the Knicks, the Thunder, whomever bring down the title, because you have to have your own plan and work within, your own structure.
Let's get to tonight's pick of the night. All right, the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight are favored by 3 over the Pistons.
Yeah, they stink.
Cleveland is undefeated at home and winless on the road in the playoffs. You know what that means? They're not very good. If you can't win a road game in the NBA playoffs, you're not a real team. The Pistons lead this series now 2-1, right? Pistons are up 2-1.
Yeah, that's correct. Detroit still doesn't have enough offensive firepower for where night in, night out.
This strikes me as a 7-game series.
Sure, 6 or 7 games certainly feels fine to me, if for no other reason, right? Like, Cleveland has the offensive firepower to pull out enough wins and Detroit lacks that offensive firepower to sort of accommodate. Even if they play better, they could lose in situations like that, relatively speaking. So, yeah, maybe Cleveland wins tonight. I'm not seeing a lot of value there one way or the other. And let me ask you this. Could tonight be the final, two-part question.
Yes.
Is it the final game ever for LeBron James, number one? Number two, is it just his final game in a Laker uniform, or three, are neither of those things true?
They will lose. Let's get that straight. They will get swept.
It has to get these dominoes falling here. Right.
I say he comes back. I say he's with the Lakers, and because they're just afraid to trade him. And I would trade him in a second. First of all, he's still one of the 2015 best players in the league. You should be able to get something for LeBron James, but it's pretty clear the Lakers are not a champion. They're not even close to a championship-level outfit, and I would say that even if Luka was playing. And, of course, Luka's not playing.
Well, he's got an expiring contract, so he doesn't need to be traded.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't like him to walk away for free. So, sign and trade? I don't know. Can you do that?
Yeah, I'm sure. I never know what the contract situation is for
LeBron has been on his own, deal for 10 years, right?
You stop paying attention to the salary cap and things like that in these leagues.
But doesn't he seem like the kind of guy who would announce that he's retaring and then have the grand tour?
Yeah, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar victory lap tour there. And I think he's done in L.A. He'll let his son do whatever it is he's going to do there and head off to, I don't know, Golden State maybe. I think enough people want to see that happen that Adam Silver and the powers that be will make sure that LeBron and Steph Curry get at least one crack at it. Hell, maybe that's why Steve Kerr has decided to stick around.
Updated championship odds for your New York Knicks. You can get them at 6-1. That they'd have to beat Oklahoma and or San Antonio or Minnesota to do so.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're not interested.
No, I would say if you have futures on the Knicks winning the East, then good on you. Don't get greedy.
I like that. A little on the NFL this week, by the way. They'll be releasing their schedule in dribs and drabs and all the way on Thursday. And also, a golf major this week, the PGA Championship. Busy week ahead. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, the next KevinMc Sports Hour.